Uh-oh. Motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A major update to a story that's been happening in the background of the paid ranks in professional boxing. It's been a very significant day for future of Olympic boxing, hailed as IOC grant provisional recognition to World Boxing, the new organization that's going to be overseeing amateur bouts in the absence of IEBA that lost recognition from the IOC. The future for boxing at the Olympic Games took a huge step in the right direction on Wednesday as the IOC provisionally recognized World Boxing as the body to oversee competition in Los Angeles 2028 at the next Olympic Games. There was a very real chance that there would be no boxing at the Olympics for the first time ever after the International Olympic Committee officially stripped the International Boxing Association of its recognition in June of 2023, citing issues regarding governance, finance, and ethics.
Match fixing, corruption is what did it.
For the past two games in Tokyo 2020 and Paris 2024, a so-called special task force was in charge of running the boxing competition, but it was made clear that would not be the case at LA in 2028, and the sport was not included in the program for the games. However, the IOC did confirm that they would reconsider their stance if a credible and well-governed international federation could convince them they were capable of running the competition in LA. And on Wednesday, during a remote meeting, the IOC granted provisional recognition to World Boxing. The federation launched in 2023 with the clear mission statement to preserve boxing at the Olympic Games.
So what becomes of IEBA?
And Umar Kremlev, president of IEBA, well, they have since turned their attention to the paid ranks, and they've been staging their own cards in Russia in the paid ranks. Pro boxing matches.
So I guess they're promoters now?
In simple terms, this means that the IOC have recognized the progress made by World Boxing, which is currently composed of 78 national federations from 5 different continents.
That's good.
An IOC statement read, "The assessment concluded that World Boxing has continued to make progress regarding the identified areas of consideration in order to be recommended for IOC provisional recognition as the international federation within the Olympic movement governing the sport of boxing at world level."
Now here on this channel, we really do just focus on pro boxing, boxing in the paid ranks. But anybody that keeps up with this sport knows that the backbone of the paid ranks are the amateurs. And what blue chip prospects, Olympians, gold, silver, and bronze medalists come through after their amateur careers are over.
That's not to say that every Olympian or every medalist makes for a great pro. No, sometimes they don't.
Some.
But it's still an essential cog in the big machine. Remember, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, these were gold medalists.
Katie Taylor, Clarissa Shields, Nicola Adams,
Vasyl Lomachenko, and just so many other amateurs that had great amateur careers, more than I can name.
that went on to have great pro careers.
Former world middleweight champion and 2004 Olympic silver medalist Gennady Golovkin, who is the chairman of the World Boxing Olympic Commission, said, "Receiving provisional Olympic recognition from the IOC is an important achievement and demonstrates that our sport is on the right path. This decision brings us one step closer closer to our main goal, preserving boxing at the Olympic Games, although there is still work to be done to gain full recognition and ensure boxing returns to the Olympic program. The news was hailed as a significant day for the sport by the World Boxing President
Boris van der Walsh.
Jesus Christ, that guy's name sounds like a disease.
Keeping its place at the Olympic Games is absolutely critical to the future of our sport at every level, from the grassroots to the highest echelons of professional boxing, and this decision by the IOC takes us one step closer to our objective of seeing boxing restored to the Olympic program. Today's decision by the IOC is an important milestone. However, everyone connected with world boxing understands that being part of the Olympic movement is a privilege and a responsibility, not a right. There is still a lot of work to do, and everyone is as committed as ever to continuing to work together and doing everything within our power to deliver a better future for our sport and ensuring that boxing remains at the heart of the Olympic movement. They've got to get their shit together and learn from past mistakes. Not their own, but AIBA's.
It was alleged match fixing and corruption that saw AIBA stripped of recognition from the IOC.
Too much partiality and too many dubious decisions.
That's how they got in trouble. That's what world boxing has to avoid at all costs.
And it's difficult because boxing, in a very general sense, has always had an air of partiality and has always been rife with corruption at all levels. So to start from scratch, do it fresh.
New organization, new staff, new mission.
Now, maybe that is what the amateur scene has needed. Reform. The desperate need for reform. And maybe it took for things to come to a head with AIBA, for things to change.
For a brighter future and a better system for those amateurs.
Because it really is the backbone of the paid ranks. That's the Super Bowl for all of these young amateur boxers in the amateur scene. What would they be working towards without an Olympics to fight in, to represent their country?
This is good news. This is really good news, and I'm happy to hear it.
After the fight, I came to Beterbiev and I told him, Artur, I respect you so much, because when I was young and I came to national team, I was looking after you, how you are training, and you were the number one. I really respect you. And I want to shake your hand and say thank you for this fight. And we shake hands. And he said, thank you for the fight also. And this is sport. Yeah, this is what happened. You are a good fighter also. And then we had another talk. He came, but he didn't. But he said, like, I will not shake hand now because we will have third fight.
Immediately after Dmitry and Artur's second meeting, Artur was quoted as saying, I didn't want the second fight, it wasn't my choice, but no problem. We can do a third fight if we need to.
And it was understood that because Artur won the first one and Dmitry won the second, it's only right that they do a third. There have been fights that were not as close and not as competitive as these two fights were that ended up getting a trilogy, like Fury versus Chisora.
Fury won all three of their meetings, all three of their fights.
Fury versus Wilder.
Deontay Wilder didn't win a single fight in that trilogy. The first one was a draw, and the last two, Tyson Fury won, by way of knockout. So when I think about the close and competitive fight between Artur and Dmitry, really tight fights, where what decided the outcome was marginal, it wasn't even dramatic, it's only right that they get a third fight. I'm not against it.
I think some people would like to see these two fighters fight somebody else now, something else to spark their curiosity. I get it.
But in reality, they're only 1-1 with each other. Artur won the first one, Dmitry won the second, the third will be the tiebreaker.
The rubber match.
Artur deserves it. So dominant the champion, reigning from 2017 till now.
That's 8 years.
Losing his first professional boxing match at age 40. I think he deserves another crack at the apple.
It took that long for somebody to finally beat him.
Took Dmitry Bivol, a very special fighter that has beaten not one, but two undisputed champions. And after the fight, a member of Artur's team, Iceman John Scully, was singing Dmitry's praises, rightfully so.
He just like anybody. I mean, he wanted to win. He wanted to do what he had to do to win. I thought last time he moved way too much, and I thought that was why he lost. He didn't, he didn't really show that initiative. This time he wasn't on his bicycle as much, and he was letting his hands go a little more fluidly. I thought he did a good job in that regard. Like, Dimitri fought a very good fight, but like I say, the first half of the fight, I was very happy. Like, in the corner, I was very happy with how the fight was going. But things happen, sometimes. Usually Arthur finishes much stronger. Now, this fight, he started much quicker, and it was kind of like a switch off, unfortunately. I felt like he needed to close the gap, and keep firing back, like not letting Dimitri punch and just move. We needed to get on him and have him either punching or defending himself, as opposed to just staying on the outside and catching his breath. Like I said, I thought we had a good game plan. I thought it was working for the most part. Unfortunately, we substituted a stronger start for a stronger finish. Ultimately, that's the way it played out.
There was a question immediately after the fight due to Artur's age that has Father Time finally caught up to him. And I'm not exactly comfortable with that explanation due to John Scully's evaluation of the fight, because that's what I saw. Artur really went for it in the mid-rounds. Instead of just pacing himself and letting a knockout happen, he chased it. And that extra effort seems to have costed him as the fight progressed, because for a minute there, it did look like he was going to stop Dimitri Bivol, who was hanging tough and hanging on and moving, trying to get out of trouble, and it worked.
So was it really age, or that Artur came on too strong too soon?
Being 40 years old, it's not exactly something that you can dismiss, and perhaps the truth is somewhere in the middle, that a younger Artur Beterbiev would have been able to put that extra effort into those mid-rounds and still have enough left to take out Dimitri later on. A younger Artur Beterbiev.
But to a 40-year-old Artur Beterbiev, it's harder.
It's just hard to rush to assumption about his age when this is the same guy who less than 12 months ago beat this same Dimitri Bivol.
It's hard.
So now there could be a rubber match. There could be a trilogy. Who do you pick to win it? I really don't know, because I didn't have much luck with the first two. The first time I picked Dimitri, and he lost. Then the second time I picked Artur, and he lost.
I'm 0-2 with these two guys.
The only other time that's happened to me was when Carl Frampton and Leo Santa Cruz fought 2 times.
Yeah, I was 0-2 with them.
If there is a third fight, I might just have to sit that one out and enjoy the show. But I'm already seeing people saying that they favored Dimitri to win the third fight because he's the one who can change, he's the one that did, and he's the younger fighter in the fight. That not a lot about Artur changed from the first fight to the second, and not a lot is going to.
Going into the third. Not at 40 years old, but there is a problem.
A hiccup.
If what we are talking about is a third fight between Dimitri and Artur, news broke earlier today that the World Boxing Council has so decided to order a fight between David Benavidez and Dimitri Bivol.
Preliminary reports from varying sources seem to indicate that the World Boxing Council has gone ahead and ordered a fight between Dimitri Bivol and David Benavidez, even though David is not next in the queue, and neither are they. It was known ahead of time that it's actually the IBF's turn, and Germany's own Michael Eifert is supposed to be up next. He already stepped aside to allow this rematch between Dimitri and Artur to happen. So when the World Boxing Council goes ahead and tries to cut ahead in the line, it creates a situation to where the belts may be fractured.
2 of them.
Hypothetically speaking, if Dimitri were to go straight into the rubber match with Artur, he might have to give up the green belt and the red one. The green one to David and the red one to Michael.
If he goes straight into the fight with Michael, he might have to give up the green one to David. If he goes into the fight with David, he might have to give up the red one to Michael.
They've created a situation to where one way or another, the belts may become fragmented very soon.
Doesn't seem fair that so soon after having become undisputed champion, they're already bogging him down with mandatories. I'm not against David getting his crack at the apple.
I don't really think he wants it.
But consider this.
Artur Beterbiev is a practicing Muslim, and Ramadan is set to begin. So he was going to be out anyway.
To observe Ramadan.
So if while he is out doing that, Dimitri Bivol can be out doing this. defending the titles against David Benavidez. If that's what David really wants and what the WBC really want, you can set that up for the summer.
Then have the winner square off against Artur in the fall.
And what about Michael Eifert? Well, that's why I said that one way or another, this all creates a situation to where the belts will be fragmented.
I have a solution.
You can have Dimitri fight David Benavidez in the summer, then have Artur Beterbiev fight Michael Eifert towards the end of the summer, and let the winners face each other.
He can fight Michael Eifert for the vacant IBF title.
Then let him bring that to either a Dimitri Bivol trilogy or a David Benavidez fight. Now, I don't actually think David beats Dimitri, but that's not the point.
The point is that this scenario, this proposition, ties up all the loose ends. The WBC get their mandatory satisfied, Artur gets a chance to become a two-time light heavyweight champion, and he could still get his trilogy with Dimitri.
The WBC ordering this fight, though, knowing that they're not next in the rotation, it seems to me that they never really wanted Russian nationals holding their title. They were very quick when the conflict between Ukraine and Russia started to take a side.
Remember they said they weren't going to rank any Russian fighters so long as the conflict was going on? Who the hell are they to take a political stance?
A passing thought, as well as an Artur Beterbiev versus Michael Eifert fight. At 40 years old, does Artur still have what it takes to beat a young, unbeaten guy? I'd say he does. I'd say he can beat Michael Eifert, who's a mover and a jabber, just like Marcus Brown was. I think this fight would look like that one.
You sure he's not too old to keep up with a moving target?
Michael Eifert can't punch. I mean, if what you're thinking of is Dimitri Bivol, Michael Eifert is no Dimitri Bivol, so I would pick Artur Beterbiev to win that fight against Michael comfortably in this hypothetical scenario that is intended to tie up all the loose ends and make sure everybody gets their just due. Everybody gets what they want.
Everybody gets their title shot. Artur can still get his trilogy.
I favor Artur to beat Michael Eifert for the same reason I usually favor pressure fighters to wear down and wear out pure boxers, movers and jabbers who aren't comfortable in the pocket because they can't punch.
And they're not prolific. They don't have much of a work rate. It's only 1 or 2 punches at a time that they're not sitting on while they're on the balls of their feet, moving around and trying to stay out of trouble. Usually,
though not always, but usually, pressure fighters are a nightmare for pure boxers, and Artur Beterbiev is a bit more than just a pressure fighter. So even at 40 years old, coming off his first professional loss, I trust that he can beat Michael Eifert.
Make it for the vacant IBF title if that's what it takes. Get it done.
For, say, late July or August. By then, Ramadan will be done, and Artur will be ready to fight, so that he can go into the Bivol trilogy in the fall.
When Riyadh season starts.
As far as Dimitri and David, I guess that all depends on how bad David really wants this shot. If the WBC has so decided to hit the gas, I think Dimitri beats him comfortably. I think Dimitri does to David what he did to Zurdo.
And I don't even think David is as adaptable as Zurdo, as malleable as Zurdo.
Dimitri Bivol just took Artur Beterbiev's power for 24 rounds, and he didn't get knocked down, he didn't get knocked out. So I don't think David, who hasn't knocked anybody out since moving up to light heavyweight, I don't think David cracks harder than Artur.
He certainly doesn't have better feet, better coordination than Artur.
He doesn't do anything better than Artur. I think Dimitri takes him to school.